Today's Cowboys report is made possible by Kinzuri. They are the height-boosting shoes that can get you 15% off and up to 2.8 inches, by the way, when you go to kinzuri.com/chat. Links in the comments and the description. All right, roster projection time. First up, 2 quarterbacks. I was unimpressed by Will Grier last week. You can carry an extra quarterback on the game day roster if they are on your active roster, but there are other guys I wanted to keep over Will Grier, so I'm going with just 2. QB1, Dak Prescott. QB2, Cooper Rush. Now, we will have a live watch party for you guys. Cowboys against the Raiders. We're going to need your help. Take down Mitchell Renz and his financially irresponsible Raiders fan base and supers and likes and everything. Hit the like button on today's video if you will tune in for our always entertaining Cowboys versus Raiders watch party. All right, next up, let's go to the running backs. I'm going with 3. We'll get to Malik Davis here in a second. Tony Pollard, Rico Dowdle, Deuce Vaughn. Malik Davis was one of the last offensive players I cut. I'll leave Ronald Jones on there. He's suspended. He doesn't count against your roster right now, but he still might not make it. He's missed the first 2 games. We'll see if he plays in the third. Through 2 preseason games, there's 2 haves and 1 have-not. Rico Dowdle on his touches, 19 touches for 101 yards. He's had some nice work in the passing game, most specifically. Deuce Vaughn, who at one point had, I think it was like 13 touches for 71 yards or 74 yards or something like that, and then the O-line failed him completely in the back half. He's been awesome. He's making this team. Malik Davis, I'm not so sure. He has a chance to make it, don't get me wrong, but he's not guaranteed a spot. He's averaging less than 3.5 yards per touch so far. A good third game could help him get on this active roster, but I do think you can get him to the practice squad and maybe even be a game day call-up if you do go that route instead. So pick an RB2, DV for Deuce Vaughn, RD for Rico Dowdle, or MD for Malik Davis. Hunter Lipke, by the way, is not on here. He's going to be a practice squad option really only there. So pick one for me with the pinned comment of today's show. If the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and go vote. Wide receivers have not changed. CeeDee Lamb is a lock. Brandin Cooks is a lock. Michael Gallup is a lock. Jalen Tolbert is a lock. KaVontae Turpin is on the right side of the bubble for me, and so is Jalen Brooks. And Turpin, there's been some buzz he's not going to make it, but he's your best. He's your best return man. I got to put him on there. So Brooks over Simi Fehoko, by the way. It should be telling that the first 2 preseason games when they went 3 wide, it's those backups: Tolbert, Turpin, Brooks, not Fehoko. Plus, Brooks offers you more on special teams. All right, the tight ends. This is a tough one for me. I'm only going with 3. Sean McEwen was the other last offensive player I chose to cut from this list. I would not be surprised if he made it. He would get to your practice squad, I think, though, so you can maybe, cut him and then bring him back at some point, be a game day call-up. Jake Ferguson, Peyton Hendershot, who was kind of waffling a bit because John Stevens was impressing, and then Stevens got hurt and his season's over. He's going to go on IR, so his year's done. I almost put McEwen, I kind of want an H-back, a fullback type. I think Luke Schoonmaker could do that. So I'm going to put Schoonmaker in that role and live in my 11 personnel and receiver still. Now, folks, today's show is made possible by Kinzuri. Have you ever wished you were a little bit taller? Maybe you matched on Tinder, but a profile says you got to be over 6 foot. Maybe your date wants to wear heels, but you can't because it'll make her taller than you. We have short kings covered with today's sponsor, Kinzuri. Kinzuri makes shoes out to 2.8 inches to your height without anyone knowing. Deuce Vaughn, this is for you, my friend. Kinzuri shoes are not just height boosting, but also stylish and comfortable. They are not grandpa's Velcro shoes, but fashionable shoes that can get compliments even without the height increase. The height insoles are built into the shoes, making it the ultimate height hack. For a limited time, you guys get an extra 15% off your order at kinzuri.com/chat. The site is already 30% off. With our link, you get an extra 15%. That's 45% off your entire order. To support our show, and check them out at CONZURI.com/chat. Look, if Deuce Vaughn was wearing Kanzuris and wasn't 5'5", he might have been a third-round pick. Life is short, but you don't have to be. Level up the playing field with Kanzuri. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. All right, to the offensive line, and boy, I don't know what to do here. Your locks are Tyron Smith, Tyler Biadasz, Zack, Martin, Terence, Stele. I think Austin Richards is a lock, even though he's probably better off as like lineman 7 or 8 for you. I think Matt Farniok is safe, but I have not been impressed by him. Matt Waletzko is not carried through a strong training camp and is kind of level, or a strong mini camp, kind of cooled off a little bit there. I don't really want Josh Ball on my team. So TJ Bass, I'm going to put over Josh Ball, but I wouldn't mind an addition here. Now, notably off this list is Chuma Edoga. Adoga's been hurt. He is a vested veteran. So what the Cowboys could hypothetically do here is, either A, carry him through waivers, then put him on IR, or release him, re-sign him, put him on IR, or keep him on the roster. He would not have to hit waivers, so he could be back in some capacity on the practice squad as a stash somewhere. But I haven't seen him play yet, so tough for me to give him even the edge over TJ Bass. I just don't like this depth on the Cowboys offensive line. I think it is thin right now. So what is your biggest concern on the Cowboys roster? Is it kicker? Is it O-line depth? Maybe it's the coach. Maybe it's the QB. Whatever it is, sound off for me in the comment section with your single biggest concern with this Cowboys roster as it is currently constructed. The defensive tackles here. And, all right, I would have loved to have made room for Quinton Bohanna. He might not make it through waivers. He has been much better, but Osa, Mazi, Chauncey Golston, they drafted Junior Fiocco in the 5th round, who only played one preseason game so far. Jonathan Hankins is going to make it. Like, it just doesn't, the math isn't right for Bohanna, nor is it right for Neville Gallimore, unfortunately. Now, I will say this. I think Neville Gallimore has been better this preseason than what we've seen previously. And that makes me happy. But there's a lot of numbers game going on along that defensive line, and you'd save like $2.75 million with a release or a trade. You have depth at defensive tackle and at defensive end. I would not be surprised if the Cowboys took one of those pieces and flipped it for an offensive lineman or maybe even a linebacker at this point. So what would you do with Neville Gallimore? K for you'd keep him, C for you'd cut him, or T for you would trade him. Sound off for me where else but in the comment section right now. I went 6 deep at defensive end, and that includes Golston and Fiocco can both play on the outside. So, I have gone very deep at this spot because I want to. Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler, Sam Williams. I have been very impressed by Isaiah Land. I don't want to cut him. He actually might get poached if you were to release him. So maybe you can find a trade partner for a Fowler or an Armstrong, make your math a little bit easier. But otherwise, I'm going to go 6 deep, which is not something I thought I'd do. Plus, Micah and maybe Isaiah Land can play some off-ball linebacker if you need to, because you're thin at linebacker. You have Leighton Vander Esch, Damone Clark. Overshown's out for the year. I'm going to go 4 linebackers deep here. Harper and Jabril Cox rounded out. I'm not going to project any trades or signings, but I wouldn't be shocked if they added somebody here. I'll instead go super heavy at the safety spot, which we will get to here in a little bit. But help us continue to grow here at the Cowboys Report. Free videos every single day, multiple times per day. If you love the Cowboys, if you want more updates, hit that sub button if you haven't already done so. Free videos right here on the Cowboys Report. Over to corner. I'm going to go 6 deep here. Asterisks on kind of 2 of them to a certain extent. Trayvon Diggs, Stephon Gilmore, Deron Bland. Those guys are locks. Eric Scott, I think, will make it. C.J. Goodwin, who could also be a trim and sign reback because he's not a vested veteran, or he is one, so he doesn't have to go through waivers. Jordan Lewis on IR, or on the pup list, excuse me. And then I'll put Kelvin Joseph over Nahshon Wright. Now, what you could see here is the Cowboys release someone like Trent Sig, your long snapper, carry Wright through roster cuts, and then put Nahshon Wright on IR. He's been banged up, had his foot in a boot over the weekend still. You could IR stash him and then have the chance to bring back if more injuries happen. The Cowboys love that kind of roster manipulation stuff, but if you're only carrying your top 6 corners and Goodwin makes as a core special teamer, I think I'd go Joseph over Wright at the moment. All right, the safety list. I went 6 deep, the deepest I've ever gone at this grouping, because Jaron Kearse, Malik Hooker, Donovan Wilson are making this team. I see no reason why Israel Mukuamu would not make it. And with your thinness at linebacker, I think it frees up room for both Marquise Bell and room for Wanye Thomas, 2 guys who I have been impressed by so far this preseason. Special teams, we'll stick with Brandon Aubrey for now. Brian Anger, Trent Sig are obvious, locks. There's nobody else on the roster. Do not be shocked if the Cowboys release someone like Trent Sig and then re-sign him the next day to help put someone on IR afterward. As always, practice squad projections are coming up next here. Who do you want to get to the practice squad? Let me know in the comment section right now. All right, 16 players. We'll go through them here. Will Grier, that one's easy. Malik Davis, we mentioned him earlier. I do think Hunter Lipke will get to your practice squad. I know he's been hyped as a fullback, but he hasn't really done fullback stuff in the preseason. I think he's just kind of a short yardage power back who I think just needs some more time. I'll make room for Simi Fehoko at wide receiver. I'll go with David Durden. You haven't seen much of him over guys like, Dennis Houston, because Houston's kind of run his course. It shows you how bad the receiving room was last year that Houston started a freaking game for you. Jalen Cropper also makes it. Sean McEwen, if you can get him down there. He could be a game day call-up, some kind of like what he was in previous years. Earl Bostic, the tackle. There you go. Brock Hoffman, and I'll put Josh Ball on there. Don't like the person, but I do think he played better last week. I'll give him some credit. Quinton Bohanna, he might get poached, but I'm going to do it. Isaac Alarcon, the DT, who actually, I'll make a note here. I actually want him on my practice squad because he was an offensive tackle, now playing DT. I think that position flex actually carries value for your practice squad, so I actually want him on there, even though he's out of freebie spots. Tyrus Wheats, who also got some off-ball linebacker reps, and that was not very good. Don't know why they did that. Doesn't make sense to me, but as an edge, sure. Malik Jefferson, just like last year. Nahshon Wright, if there's not some IR, sneakiness, if he doesn't make it, he might get through waivers there. And finally, Tyler Coyle also makes it on our practice squad projection. So at 7 safeties you're carrying, he could get poached, though, as a special teamer.